Hey, it's Abdullah with your much needed dose of nostalgia, and today I'm going to be unboxing the Nokia N9, one of the most legendary, iconic Nokia devices ever made, and also the last N-series device Nokia has ever made. This phone's design actually inspired some of the most iconic Lumia devices that we all remember, such as the Lumia 920 with its brilliant design and very eccentric yellow. And of course, the Lumia 1020 with its iconic Oreo camera bump. And it all started with this. The Nokia N9. Let's have a look inside the box. The phone did ship with a rubber case. This one's quite worn out. Triangular wall brick for charging. Headset. And of course, micro USB for charging. The splash animation on the Nokia N9 was also quite iconic. It's like a heartbeat pulsing. How cool is that? When it comes to operating system, you won't find anything more unique than the Nokia N9. It's literally the first and last phone to be running on MeeGo Harmattan. So initially this was Nokia's answer to iOS and Android, but Nokia ended up switching to Windows Phone in order to save themselves, which wasn't the exact best move they could have done. But this operating system is absolutely incredible. And let me show you why. So for a start, you'll notice that this phone doesn't have any hardware or capacitive buttons all around the front. And this is because you can use this phone just by using gestures. And this phone came out in 2011. It had the main home screen, which you can find here, with all your applications. So this was considered like your app drawer. And then to the right hand side, you had your multitasking view. And then to the left hand side, you had your social feed. So this, back in the day, used to connect with your Facebook and Twitter and weather application, as well as notifications. So everything was all displayed on this feed over here. And if you were to look at the multitasking, this was one of the key, strongest suits of the Nokia N9. So you just swipe from the edge in order to exit an app. How smooth is that? And this also had real-time multitasking. So all of these applications that you see are actually working in real time. So if you were to have a compass, for example, and you to switch the phone around, you'd see the compass moving in real time. This is what I absolutely loved about this phone. This phone was a proper multitasking powerhouse, and using it was just so smooth. So you want to switch between applications quickly? Here you go. The operation is super smooth. And if you want to get more information for your multitasking view, you can also zoom in, and then you'll get 4 applications, zoom out, and you'll get 9 applications in your home screen. So let me show you one of the coolest aspects of the multitasking on the Nokia N9. If you're watching a video and you want to swipe away, the video will continue playing until you fully swipe it away. And this just shows you how powerful the multitasking was on the Nokia N9. And even pinch to zoom on this phone was brilliantly smooth. Look at this. So in terms of smoothness, this phone was on par with iOS at the time, and maybe even a slight step above. You can also swipe from the other edge. And in order to close the applications, you can swipe from the top down. In terms of hardware, the Nokia N9 is also pretty special. So it was made completely out of polycarbonate with the color mixed in with the polycarbonate. So if you scratch this device, it will retain its color. And it came in really cool colors such as cyan and magenta, and a very special unicorn glossy white as well. The hardware still looks incredible even today. Of course, there's this chrome strip at the back, which gathers scratches like crazy, and I think it's the only weak point. And it also had 3D glass that just sort of blends in with the rest of the hardware. And this was done so that swiping gesture, which is the main gesture of using MeeGo Harmattan, was made as pleasant as possible. Another really cool aspect as well was that all the ports were hidden. So minus the 3.5mm headphone jack, the charging port was hidden. So this was done to make the design as seamless as possible and as smooth as possible. And of course, it's not very practical because you have to open this every single time you want to charge your device, but it still added to the charm and allure of the Nokia N9. Look at the detailing of the speaker grill at the bottom. It was machined into the plastic, and the quality and the attention to detail of every little aspect of the design on the N9 was just absolutely incredible. The buttons were made from this chrome finish as well, and it gives it such a nice contrast with the rest of the black, and it matches the chrome finish on the camera as well. Of course, the phone utilized Carl Zeiss. This was back in the day when he was known on a first name basis. If you were to ask me what is the most beautiful phone you've ever held and used, the answer is very easy for me. It's definitely the Nokia N9. One of the other cool aspects is you can wake up the phone by double tapping. And this was the first phone to implement this. LG tried to take credit for this, but Nokia was definitely the first. And the idea behind it was, it's almost like a living thing, right? You tap it to wake it up, then you swipe. Just incredible. Another aspect that was absolutely brilliant on the N9 was the haptic engine. So when you want to type stuff, till today, I think this is one of the best haptic engines on a keyboard. Another cool aspect of the N9 was that when they were trying to build it, they followed the same sort of principle as the ship in the bottle. So they'd make the polycarbonate finish, right? And it's from a single piece of polycarbonate that's molded. And then they'd insert the components, and then they'd close it off with the screen. As for the specs, the phone had a 3.9-inch AMOLED display back in 2011, and the resolution was 480 by 854, if I'm not mistaken. It had a 16:9 aspect ratio, and it was also using Corning Gorilla Glass. And this was one of the phones as well that didn't have a separation between the display panel and the glass, so the icons look like they're floating on top of the screen, which is a very, very cool effect that is quite popular these days and quite common. As for the processor, this phone had a Texas Instrument OMAP 3630 running at 1 GHz, so it was a single core processor with the Cortex A8 core, and the graphic card is a PowerVR SGX 530. This was also one of the first phones to come with 64 GB of built-in storage. So the most common version was the 16 GB version, but then you get the most expensive version, which was the 64 GB version, which is the one I have over here. And it was also one of the first phones to have 1 GB of RAM built in. And this was because of how powerful the multitasking is on the Nokia N9. The phone had a 1450 milliamp battery capacity. And one of the coolest aspects about the camera, which was an 8 megapixel camera with Zeiss optics, is that it didn't compromise quality based on the aspect ratio. So whether you're shooting in a 4:3 format, which most phone cameras shoot in these days, or a 16:9 aspect ratio, you will still end up with an 8 megapixel image. This phone was also one of the first to implement a micro SIM slot. So right now we have the nano SIMs, which are very, very small, but this was one of the first to implement the micro SIM. Anyways, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's one of those very nostalgic videos for me, talking about literally my favorite phone of all time, the Nokia N9. If you're enjoying these nostalgia trips, let me know in the comments down below. And if there's a particular nostalgic phone from the past that you want me to cover next, let me know in the comments below, and I'm gonna try and get it featured on this channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next one.